Welcome back, folks. So this is Basir Pirzada, your real estate broker and your mortgage loan officer, all in one-stop shop. Breaking news, not really breaking news, it's been a couple of days, I'm sure you've all heard about it, that President Trump has announced worldwide tariffs through an executive order. In his opening remarks, I'm going to show you a little video clip, but he termed it as Liberation Day. We all know how President Trump likes to say, make America great again. So now it's make America wealthy again. But his opening remarks were really interesting and kind of close to the truth, what we have seen over the years, over the decades, that Trump said that the U.S. has been looted by friends and foe alike, and the looting has been done more by friends than foes. That American jobs and American dream has been looted. But now with this new executive order announcing global reciprocal tariffs, jobs and factories will return roaring back. The golden age will return. So really interesting comments when he announces executive order. So let's listen in and then I'll recap you further.
April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steel workers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen, we have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. We had an American dream that you don't hear so much about. You did 4 years ago, and you are now, but you don't too often, and for many years and decades even, you didn't hear too much about. Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them.
So, now that you've heard his kind of like an opening remarks, let's review country by country how these reciprocal tariffs will bring back the golden age. So as Trump basically explained to the folks that China on a rough scale on an average is charging us about 66% tariff. So the US is now going to charge 34% tariff. Still half of what the China is charging us, but hey, 34% tariff on all Chinese imports. EU charging us 39% tariffs across the board on average. So that's going to be 20% tariff on goods coming from EU. Oh, before I forget, all auto imports coming into the US that are not manufactured in the US will be charged a flat 25% import tariff. Vietnam charging us 90% tariff, so we're going to charge them 46%. Taiwan charging us 64% tariff. Now, Taiwan is supposed to be a US ally, and they're charging us 64% tariff. We're going to charge them 32% tariff. Now, that's an interesting one because and a lot of critics of these global tariffs by President Trump are saying that on one hand, we say that we have to support Taiwan in our policy to contain China. So Taiwan is a huge ally, but now we're saying that we're going to charge them 32% tariff. So that's up for debate. Japan charging us 46% tariff. So now President Trump is going to charge him 24% tariff. India is charging US about 52% tariff on any US goods that land on Indian soil. Now President Trump's executive order is going to charge him 26% tariff on Indian goods coming in. Pakistan is going to charging us 60% tariff. President Trump's going to levy about 29% tariff on Pakistani goods coming into the US. So the list goes on and on and on. And I'm not going to bore you with the whole list. You can watch it on the social media. But the public and world reaction has been swift. There's condemnation across the board. It's described as a rash and disastrous action that will upset the global trade balance, the global trade order. Critics are saying that it's going to cause further decline of the American financial standing in the world. U.S. stock markets plummeted, down 1,700 points, NASDAQ, Dow Jones down 4%. And in the first 48 hours, the stock market lost about $6.4 trillion worth of stock value. So let's watch this quick compilation of video clips that I've put together about what the public reaction has been.
Looks set to sell off as Donald Trump imposes the steepest U.S. import levies in a century.
Stock set to wipe out nearly $2 trillion in market value.
Taking a plunge as investors react to the sweeping tariffs.
Right now, angry heads are prevailing, and right now, circumstances are prevailing that sends stock prices much lower than where they are right now.
I struggle for what the president's game plan is. Because if you wanted to make the market crash, I think you would go with this game plan.
I haven't seen it yet. I guess it's close to panic.
This is the biggest policy mistake in 95 years.
So U.S. lawmakers are somewhat divided along party lines. You know how the politics works in the U.S. The Democrats are calling it a national sales tax, quote unquote, a hidden national sales tax, because U.S. consumers are the ones who are going to end up paying the cost of tariffs. It's also being labeled as tariffs equals taxes. And that's a death knell for any politician in the U.S. or in the Western world who is accused of raising taxes for the common folks. So let's watch a clip from some of the senators that are condemning this move.
I think we're launching a global trade war, and I think it's a big mistake. The suggestion of a tariff not being painful for America is just plain wrong. It's a national sales tax. We estimate families will be charged $5,000 a year on the purchases they make of imported products. That is going to be a hardship for a lot of families to face. And I think the president has not been forthcoming or honest about the impact.
We've seen higher costs on everything from gas to groceries. The anger is building. We are heading toward a likely recession. I hope I'm wrong, but the combination of increasing costs and reducing numbers of jobs is going to have a drastic effect on Connecticut.
So overall reaction has been fear of higher prices, lost American jobs leading to possibly recession. Now this puts Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell in a very complex, complicated, twisted scenario, because now they have to determine, guess, analyze, predict that how will prices react to this situation. Will unemployment increase because of lost American jobs? Because with the reciprocal tariffs that China has already announced, China has announced they're going to impose exactly dollar for dollar 34% tariffs on American goods coming into the Chinese market, so which is going to cause a slowdown in American industries that manufacture goods that are sent to China. So that is probably going to lead to unemployment. Which direction to choose in interest rate decisions for Federal Reserve, that's going to be a big challenge for the Federal Reserve Board governors. Now, in the short term, you'll see the mortgage interest rates will show a slight decrease momentarily because the Treasury bond yield has gone down momentarily, slightly. But with increasing home construction costs, they will cause massive home prices to increase, a massive increase in home prices. So we'll see how that pans out. But at the heart of the tariffs regime is something that very few people are talking about, is the failure of globalization. So globalization started with this concept that rich countries are going to get richer off of poor countries and by exploiting their cheap labor. So the idea was that we design Apple phones and you manufacture them in Beijing or Vietnam or China and whatnot. And the companies in the US, we reap the maximum benefit of coming up with the design of the product. But the tables got turned because these folks like in China and Vietnam and whatnot, they have not only mastered the art of manufacturing, but they've also learned how to design the products. So you see that in case of DeepSeek, that the latest launch of the AI tool that is even better than what the US companies are offering. We now have a company called BYD. I believe the acronym stands for Build Your Dream. They are outpacing Tesla in making electric vehicles. They just announced a few days ago that they can charge their electric vehicles in under 5 minutes, while Tesla takes about 18 minutes or more to a full charge on a speed charge. So huge gains being made by these countries that were supposed to just contain themselves to manufacturing and be the manufacturing hubs of ideas designed in the industrialized nation. So the tables have been turned. So let's listen into how J.D. Vance describes it. It's a really interesting insight.
There were two conceits that our leadership class had when it came to globalization. The first is assuming that we can separate the making of things from the design of things. The idea of globalization was that rich countries would move further up the value chain while the poor countries made the simpler things. You would open an iPhone box and it would say designed in Cupertino, California. Now the implication, of course, is that it would be manufactured in Shenzhen or somewhere else. And yeah, some people might lose their jobs in manufacturing, but they could learn to design, or to use a very popular phrase, learn to code. But I think we got it wrong. It turns out that the geographies that do the manufacturing get awfully good at the designing of things. There are network effects, as you all well understand. The firms that design products work with firms that manufacture. They share intellectual property, they share best practices, and they even sometimes share critical employees. Now, we assume that other nations would always trail us in the value chain, but it turns out that as they got better at the low end of the value chain, they also started catching up on the higher end. We were squeezed from both ends. Now, that was the first conceit of globalization. I think the second is that cheap labor is fundamentally a crutch, and it's a crutch that inhibits innovation. I might even say that it's a drug that too many American firms got addicted to. Now, if you can make a product more cheaply, it's far too easy to do that rather than to innovate. And whether we were offshoring factories to cheap labor economies or importing cheap labor through our immigration system, cheap labor became the drug of Western economies. And
So in my closing arguments, I would say that these are interesting times. The Trump regime is really upsetting and really questioning the status quo in more ways than one. There's also talk of privatizing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And for those of you who know, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are the leading government entities that oversee the lending for all mortgage loans in the U.S. So it will be huge if they get privatized, and how it will either benefit or harm. The latest development is that starting in May 2025, only U.S. citizens and green card holders, permanent resident aliens, will be able to qualify for the FHA guaranteed loans for first-time home buyers. For folks who are here on work visas, H-1 visas, B-1, B-2 visas, or employment authorization document folks, they will not be able to secure an FHA guaranteed first-time home buyer loan. So that's the latest development. I'll keep you posted. Thank you for watching. If you like the content, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you.